So now I've periodically told you guys that I've heard from, different sources, periodically, whatever, antibiotics are being overprescribed. Alright? We're going to wind up with superbugs. Antibiotics are being overprescribed. It's been shouted from the rooftops by, mainstream, by whatever. Antibiotics are being overprescribed. Even recently there was a superbug scare. They've discovered a superbug that's untreatable, okay? That's spilling out. I guess I can't drink it out of there. So anyway, the latest thing, it's on my news tonight. I just paused. I'll do the closed caption. But the latest thing, urgent care places. And what do you think they're doing? They're over-prescribing antibiotics. You walk in, they're just everything, antibiotic, antibiotic. And again, you can't set aside the fact that it's money too, okay? It has to be. They've been shouting in the news about don't overprescribe antibiotics, not to us, not to animals, and there are doctors that give, doctors who will give antibiotics for colds and flu that are not bacterial, they're viral. Antibiotics are useless against viral illnesses. Useless, okay? It's been shouted, okay? It's been shouted, and it's even recently, there was headlines about this superbug, but people have been warning, experts have been warning about the creation of superbugs. I guess it goes in one ear, out the other, because my news is saying the CDC is doing a study, and urgent care places, the kind you walk in that you don't have to have an appointment or anything, are constantly prescribing antibiotics when they're not needed, okay? So setting aside the fact of superbugs, setting aside all of that, okay? Antibiotics also destroy the good bacteria in your system, okay? So it's not really good to take antibiotics unless it's necessary. And then my news is saying, well, things you want to ask, but meanwhile, nobody, how about the responsibility of these fucking doctors in these urgent care places? Okay, most people are not going to think to ask questions. I could give you my mom as an example. She just does whatever she's told. She never asks questions about anything. Okay? She's been trained to obey authority. Authority is your doctor. You do what they say. So if she walked, she's not going to be walking into an urgent care, but if she did, she'd do what they say, including taking the antibiotics they prescribe. So how about let the responsibility fall on these urgent care places for all people that are not going to question their doctors ever, because they've been trained that doctors know best, okay? I would know to question them, but I'm not, most people, Anyway, that makes me ill. Because it's not like they can claim ignorance. They can't feign ignorance. They can't say, oh, we didn't know. It's been headlined recently. Not just on my natural health sites who are saying you should avoid taking antibiotics if possible, because they don't differentiate. They destroy the good bacteria in your body, okay? So, the good gut bacteria that we need. But come on, why are you prescribing them still, you urgent healthcare places? Apparently it's a big deal. They say urgent care places prescribe. It's a quick fix. Yeah, well, just put your antibiotics. That's where we're in danger now, because all along doctors antibiotics, and now we're creating superbugs. Okay, and scientists have warned that we could be in serious danger of And now you hear these urgent care places are prescribing antibiotics 46% of the time to people who walk into these places. 46% compared to regular, if you go to your regular, 17. That's a big difference, people, and there's no need for it. To prescribe antibiotics to people, they take them and they don't need them. And like this woman just said, you might not think it's a big deal now to take these antibiotics you don't need, but what about way down the line when you're a little old lady or something, and I'm trying to find you something to treat something real serious that's potentially deadly, and I can't because of all these superbugs, because your body is resistant, because you've been given antibiotics for no goddamn fucking reason by assholes. who are supposed to be professionals. What the fuck, people? You know? Again, you can't claim ignorance. A long time ago, I know, because I've asked before. I know that they prescribe antibiotics, but if antibiotics are useless in treating viral infections, why prescribe antibiotics? See? Why do it? What's the fucking reason? Have people take something they don't need to take? You know? Is it because you get a kickback that you're lying in your pockets with the people who manufacture the antibiotics? I don't know. I'm just sharing this information that I know for a fact that it has been shouted in the headlines about superbugs. Even not that long ago, my news thing had a thing where we have to be really careful. You know, before it's just, like Joe would say, everybody thinks everything is a conspiracy theory until it happens, alright? Superbugs are not a joke. They are real, and recently, relatively recently, they did find one. There was a superbug created, okay? And it can happen more and more and more. And I was talking about this in videos a while back, the over-prescribing of antibiotics. You'd think it would cease and desist, but it hasn't. Apparently, it's ridiculous. 30% more of the time, these urgent care places that now are the rage and popping up everywhere, just they're prescribing antibiotic when you don't even need it. Unreal. Unfucking believable. You know? It's just, this whole world is fucking sick. This whole world makes me fucking puke. Okay? It does. These are professionals, and again, my news can say, well, things you want to ask, yeah. Except nobody's watching you. All the people, you know what I mean? It's like, how about put some responsibility? How about crack down on these urgent care places? If you're doing these studies and you're seeing it, crack down on them about over-prescribing these antibiotics. You know? How about that? Because again, most people just don't question their doctors. Alright? Most people don't question their doctors, period. I'm not most people. I question everything. And I question it even on behalf of my mom. Okay? But I've seen firsthand that she doesn't question anything. She doesn't question shit. She just does what she's told to do. Unfortunately. Okay, so here we go. It's closed caption time, but fortunately it's just going to be a little short thing. There's just no excuse. There's no excuse for doctors, urgent care doctors or not. They're still doctors to be, you know what I mean? There's no excuse to still be over-prescribing antibiotics when experts have been shouting about the dangers. That we're going to create fucking superbugs that are resistant to everything. And that's just on top of the fact that we shouldn't be taking antibiotics if we don't need to take them. It makes me think they prescribe antibiotics just to make people feel better. They feel better, they're taking something for what ails them. And meanwhile, you just have to ride it out. Viral infections are not, it doesn't work, you know? Antibiotics are ineffective against viral infections, and yet doctors, apparently more so in these urgent care places, are prescribing antibiotics for viral infections. And Lord only knows why. I don't pretend to know why. I don't pretend to know why about a lot of shit, you know? Oh, I'm loving this. Again, I don't hate Trump. I think, and I'm just not even going to get into it, but I just find certain things amusing. And now he's claiming that it was a word choice. He said at that summit, I don't see why he would be Russia. And the way he said it, I mean, it seemed like he knew what he was saying. I don't see why it would be Russia, you know. And now he's claiming that he meant to say, I don't see why it wouldn't be Russia. People are going to have a field day with that. Late night hosts, talk show hosts are going to have a field day with that. I don't know, his whole tone at the summit. I don't see how he can do a quick about and, you know, a quick change thing and just say, oh, I meant to say I don't see why it wouldn't be Russia. That's word choice. I don't know, maybe it's just doing damage control. Because he didn't know there'd be so much fallout, or I don't know. It's just all fucked. Like I said, this whole world's fucked. I don't tell you what Joe tells me what's going on, but I do believe it. I will just allude to this. You have to be careful as a president. Look what happened to Kennedy. So I won't say what Joe says to me. I'm never going to get into that on my channel. I'll just allude to that. I mean, everybody knows. I even asked my mom the other day. I'm like, Mama, that was when, you know, that happened like right around when I was born or something. I said, so you were, I mean, I know she has problems sometimes remembering more recent things, but I'm like, you remember a lot of old things. You bring up shit from whenever. Like, do you remember when Kennedy was assassinated? Do you remember? And she said, yeah, she remembers and she knows what she was doing and whatnot. I didn't even know, but then it was in the news that he was assassinated 50 years ago, right? It was recently in the news. He was assassinated 50 years ago, right? I believe. Not 50 years ago today, but I mean, I believe that was recently. That was this year, 2018. Anyway, that's all I'll say. I'll just allude to that. But of course, if you believe that he was just killed randomly and whatnot, then it doesn't matter. But if you're someone who believes more sinister things, then presidents have to be careful what they do and say. Let's just leave it at that. Right, Ohms? Anyway, on to antibiotic crap. Just crap. Okay, here we go. Hell, I put closed captions on. Oh, the closed captions, I told you, they leave a lot to be desired, seriously. Okay, alright. Urgent care centers have become quite common. Okay, newscaster at urgent care centers have become popular alternatives to ER and doctor's visits. You know, you go to an urgent care, like I said, and when I was just, you know, not reading from anything, just talking off the top of my head, you know, talking what I just seen. No appointments needed. You go to urgent care, no appointments needed, so they've become quite popular. Emily, but now a warning is you could be walking out with something you don't need. So now this newscaster is explaining. Antibiotic alert. Staff at urgent care centers, again, the staff at urgent care centers are regular doctors, are prescribing antibiotics to treat everything from cuts and scrapes to colds and flu. But it is how they treat, wait a minute, is it saying, or doctors, I don't want to get this wrong here. Okay. Staff at urgent care centers treat everything from cuts and scrapes to colds and flu. But it is how they treat some of those conditions that is coming under scrutiny in a new study. Okay, so yeah, of course. They treat everything from cuts and scrapes to colds and flu. Okay. The Centers for Disease Control say nearly half the people who walk into an urgent care center with a cold or flu, that's bad, people.
nearly half the people who walked into an urgent care center with a cold or flu walked out with a prescription for antibiotics. And the thing is, most colds and flu are viral in nature. They're not bacterial, and they're not helped by antibiotics. CDC study, urgent care centers are overprescribing antibiotics. Then why don't you crack down on them and stop them from doing it? We've already had these stuff in the news about superbugs and whatnot, okay? These warnings, and apparently they've fallen on deaf ears at urgent care centers. Prescription for an antibiotic. That's despite clear guidelines that say antibiotics are useless in treating those illnesses. The CDC study found urgent care facilities prescribe antibiotics to those patients 46% of the time, compared with just 17% for doctors' offices. ABC's Dr. Jennifer Ashton says that it's dangerous. No shit, it's dangerous. If you take an antibiotic when it's not necessary, number one, antibiotic resistance. That means that right now you are exposing that bacteria or a similar, or a virus, or organism that may then make that antibiotic completely ineffective when you're a little old lady and you need to treat an infection. If I can't go down our list of arsenal, you could be in serious trouble. Could be in big trouble. So these are the questions you should ask any doctor who's about to prescribe you an antibiotic. Are you sure I have a bacterial infection? Is this the best medicine for me? Again, but most people are not watching this news right now, and most people aren't going to know this, okay? They're not going to know to ask. So why not go to the source and crack down on these urgent care places that are overprescribing antibiotics despite, like I said, experts been telling us now for years, warning us about superbugs. And then suddenly, there was, not that long ago, they said our warnings, I did a video on it, our warnings have been brought, they've come to light. They've come to fruition. There is a superbug now. If you get an antibiotic prescription, ask, are you sure I have a bacterial infection? Most common infections are viral in nature. Our viruses and antibiotics don't work. Also, ask, is this the best medicine for me? See, doctors used to always, they would prescribe antibiotics even for, just all colds and flu, they just automatically. And then one time I asked why I wasn't being prescribed that, and they explained that that we're not doing that. It's viral in nature. It's not bacterial, and it doesn't help with antibiotics. And then I told you when I had that tick bite, they automatically, as a precaution, put me on that antibiotic thing. And then when I had another tick bite, they didn't do it. And I said, how come the other place did it? And they're like, well, we have strict guidelines of when we're supposed to do it, and we're following them. The other place didn't, because I said this was the same situation where, I came in and it was X, Y, and Z. I didn't know when I got the tick bite, and I had the red thing. But they said, we're just going to watch it, and different places are different. I talked about this in a video too. So they were both emergency rooms. They were different emergency rooms because I was in a different area at the time. But I thought I'll just go in and get this checked out. Oh, it also says don't use old prescriptions you have in your medicine cabinet either. Always talk to a doctor first. Using old prescriptions of antibiotics can also lead to antibiotic resistance and create superbugs and whatnot. Anyway. Now let me go back in the kitchen.
there are things that are important and things that are not so important. And it is really important that doctors just really stop over-prescribing antibiotics, because when we really need them, they're not going to be available to us if these bugs become resistant, you know. Anyway. I really wish, and I have a sinking feeling, just based on what Joe told me when he's trying to do home improvements, and oh, the interesting thing, my Joe told me that he found out, obviously it's one of those things you just find out by chance, the same person who was at his house saying, you know, nowadays with the economy so good and we have plenty of jobs available, you know, people don't want to, in our business, don't want to take jobs for under 10,000, whatever. Well, he found out that this same woman, I guess he was talking to his neighbor, talking to someone at work, something happened where this same woman was, they wound up, her team or whatever, something like didn't finish the job, was goofing off on the job. In the end, they had to fire them, and they didn't even pay them because they didn't finish the job, okay? So I'm like, oh, that's good. The same one is saying, we're not going to take jobs for under that, is doing whatever. And then Joe's like, yeah. He's like, and nobody was home to watch what they're doing. And Joe's like, you know, just like when they did my driveway, imagine if I had been home and I could have said to them, like, what are you doing, why are you doing it, or whatever, but I was at work, you know, and you don't know, that's because I am able to do it when I have stuff done outside, when we do the railing, whatever, I'll make sure I'm here. That way you know what somebody's up to. Otherwise you have no idea what they're up to if they're working on the outside of your home or something and you're not home. See? And Joe needs inside work done, so of course he would do it when he's home he wouldn't have anybody in his house while he's at work. That would be, no, I can't imagine anyone would do that, but maybe people do. I bet there are people who have contractors in their house working, especially when jobs take a long time, like if you're remodeling your whole kitchen and people have to work, I bet they let them be here. In fact, I know that they do. Angel's foster mama, she told me, she had people working on her house when they weren't home. I think she was saying something about Angel, because she's like, well, we had workers here, whatever, Angel was okay by something, I don't know, but I wouldn't do it. That's me anyway, you know. I bet there are people who have workers that work on their home while they're not home. Especially if someone doesn't want to stay home, if a project takes weeks. But I don't know. Don't know, Lou. Change my shorts for variety's sake. tell that's not going to come off in the dishwasher. Already tell. And I'm going to have tacos. A woman in New Hampshire is in a wheelchair. They say she often leaves her door open. Yeah, that's the most foolish thing. She lives alone and leaves her door open. You know, next time a bear got in and attacked her. She walked in on the bear in her kitchen, and they say she often leaves her door open. First, New Hampshire, I don't see how people can leave their doors open. You get eaten alive by bugs, but setting that aside. You're in a wheelchair. You are fucking helpless. Instead of being a fucking bear, it could be a fucking serial killer, a psychopath, you know? I always go back to the same thing. I just don't understand how people can be so whatever. Anyway, she's in the hospital, head injuries, serious injuries. She could have been killed. And I'm not saying murder, it's a bear, you know, bears can't, but she could have been killed by the bear. She suffered serious injuries. She's helpless. She can't get up and run away. She's in a wheelchair. And they said she often leaves her door open. It's unclear how the bear got in the kitchen, but the woman does often leave her door open, so the bear probably just walked in. Why are you going to often leave your door open? You live alone in New Hampshire, in the woods, and you know, it doesn't have to be a bear, again, in this day and age. I always go back to the same thing, people. There's not living in fear, and then there's just imbecilic behavior, idiotic behavior. And you live alone, you're an old woman in a wheelchair, you know, helpless in a wheelchair, and you leave your door open, and now a bear came in and nearly killed you. Maybe it took that, and now she won't leave her door open ever again. I mean, I don't get it. And people around there said the bear's been causing problems. They don't know, maybe it's been causing problems, but no injuries till now. Basically, she walked in on it, didn't know it was in her kitchen, and startled it, and it's going to react like to how it would react when it feels threatened. It's in a confined space in her kitchen, and but the fact is, how the fuck else did the bear get in her kitchen unless she left her goddamn door open? In this day and age, you know, even if you're not in a wheelchair, you live there alone, you're an old lady living there alone, and you leave your door open. Although, just to give her the benefit of the doubt, maybe she leaves her door open sometimes just during the day. Maybe she was elsewhere in the house and she just left the door open during the day. One would hope she doesn't leave her door open like when she goes to bed at night or whatever. In any case, I'm betting she won't ever do that again. She's going to be okay. We could have been hearing that she's dead because she can't get away, you know. I mean, you know, the bear, even though she's defenseless in the friggin' wheelchair, the bear hurt her. She has serious injuries. Oh. And this fall, that woman who was a bystander, you know, Sergeant Chesna, they made him sergeant just like they did the one down the Cape. Posthumously, he was an officer, but they're calling him sergeant now that he's dead. And like I said, this guy, I guess, he has a history of mental problems. They're going to try to do the insanity defense. His defense attorney, he was arraigned today in Quincy Court, and last name Lopes or something like that, and he looks deranged. Let's just say that right there. Again, he was driving erratically, smashed into someone, So, and then he's on foot, and police are called, and it was the end of Officer Sergeant Chesna's shift, and it was going to be the next, it was Sunday morning at 7:30, he was getting off at 8, and he threw a fucking rock at his head from like feet, you know, how many feet away, 10 feet away, whatever, hit him in the head, and then he went up, grabbed his gun, and just boom, 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 shot him 10 times in close range. Oh, and I found out about the old lady. It wasn't a random bullet, it was intentional, but what she was doing is what a lot of us would do if there's gunfire, if there's whatever. When stuff happens around here, I peek out the window, you know. It's human nature. Apparently, she was peeking out the window to see what was going on, so he shot 3 bullets into the window and one of them killed her. It gives new meaning to curiosity killed the cat. He wouldn't have known she was there if she hadn't been looking out her window. She looked out her window, and it was the death of her. It was the end of her. He gunned her down. But anyway, they're trying to do insanity defense, and if the guy was saying he can't even have a coherent conversation with him. He looks strange. They wanted him to be put into instead of going to they're holding without bail in the prison, though. They're not. The judge said no. But in the end, even though it was a police officer killed, if the guy is deemed, you know, out of his mind, crazy or whatever, they have to treat it the same as if he, you know, look at that guy in Massachusetts that just randomly stabbed that young woman who was just there studying on a Saturday morning. That's a page out of a horror movie. He came up and started stabbing her, and just like in a horror movie, she was able to run and get away, but he chased her and stabbed her, and she winds up dead. And then the bystander, that guy, tried to stop him, and he got stabbed too. So the woman was a goner, but he had a history of mental problems. Apparently this guy, it's the same thing, so I don't know what's going to happen. Because none of it makes any sense. It's not like he was stopped by Officer Chesna to start committing a crime or something. He was driving erratically and then smashed his car and then got out, but he's clearly deranged, and officers probably don't even think about that. Who would think that this guy is going to hurl a rock at your head and then just come up once he has you where he wants you on the ground, come up, grab your gun, and blow you away at close range? I mean, it also gives new meaning to the word that officers put their lives on the line every fucking day for us. I mean, and Sergeant Chesna was a father, he was a husband, he had loved being a police officer, he'd been on the force. It would have been 6 years the next day, on that Monday. But the only reason I'm talking about this, I don't talk about every officer shooting, is because of the nature of it. The guy, the officer was shot with his own gun because this deranged, whatever, we don't want to call him, they said he was competent to stand, you know, to be arraigned, to be, that's what it is, you're arraigned, right, when you're, whatever, but, and of course the courtroom was filled. It's the same thing as what happened with that guy in the Cape, but that was at least a little different. The guy at the Cape they were serving a search warrant, this, that, whatever. This guy's clearly out of his mind. But yeah, he gunned down Vera, whoever, that old woman, because she made the mistake of doing what we've all done, you know, looking out her window to see what everything was, commotion was all about. That was the last thing she did. He shot 3 bullets right in it. She was in her home, and 3 bullets right through that window and killed her. But he never would have known she was there if she had not looked out the window. So, that's kind of sad. But again, officers are watching out for if a suspect has a gun. Officers aren't expected to have aren't expecting to have a suspect or whatever, you know, hurl a rock at them, a big stone. You know, it just goes to show you, though, things happen in a split second. Even when he had the stones, that stone's not what killed him, so he was down, but I'm sure even at that point he didn't know he was about to be blown away, about to die. He doesn't know that the guy was going to run up and grab his gun and kill him. That's why they're saying, you know, the guy's, he's 20 years old and he looks deranged. That's all I have to say. He looks deranged. Apparently his defense attorney has been trying to talk to him and he can't get him to talk coherently at all, but he was deemed competent enough. He was in the hospital because police officers came and, you know, shot him, but it was too late to save Sergeant Chesna. And the woman in the house, she was gone. I mean, again, she unfortunately decided to look out her window. She looked out her window and he shot intentionally 3 bullets into it. I'll tell you something, you know, I walk everywhere. Anything can happen at any time, you just never know. Police officers are gunned down when they're making innocent traffic stops. Okay, just one the other day. I saw on the news, I don't know where it took place. Remember, I watch World News Tonight, which has has news across the world, across the United States, and then so I sometimes don't know if it happens around here, or if it happens elsewhere, but it happened recently with a guy, the officer he's okay, but he was gunned down when he was making an innocent traffic stop, okay? So when I'm out walking, if there are police who have stopped a car, and there's police surrounding a car or whatever, I cross the street. I don't go near it. I don't go near it. I'm talking about, I mean, I cross the street, I just don't want to go by. I can legally go by, you know, I'm on that side, I have a right to walk, but I don't want to go by, and I don't go by, especially if it's a whole group. I've been walking before, and there's more than one police officer, and there's a whole group of people, so the police officer's doing something. He's questioning, arresting, doing something. I don't need to be near there. You do not know. Things happen in a split second. You don't know what's going to happen. It's better that I just don't go near it, and I don't. I won't. I usually you can see in a distance what's happening, and I just cross the street. So I do go by. I just go by on the other side of the street. Remember, I've been walking for a long time and seen a lot of things, and I just... try to keep my distance. I don't even like to go by when I'm walking alone. I don't like to go by a whole group of anybody. I'm not talking like just a couple people or something. I'm talking about a whole group of people. I don't like to go by a whole group of people. In fact, sometimes I think I maybe have crossed the street to not go by a whole group of people too. Which whole group of people, you know, is generally young kids or you know, 20s, late teen, you know what I mean? A whole group, I would just prefer to not go by a whole group of people that are walking. Particularly since I can usually tell that, you know, they're not, let's put it this way, I can tell when I'm walking behind or coming upon a whole group of church people versus a whole group of, you know, they're not unsavory characters, they're just people I just would prefer to not go by them. and no, the color of their skin doesn't make a difference to me. It's just not, it's not the race, it's just a whole group of gathered, you know. I just would prefer not to go by them. Remember, I don't just walk around here. I travel far and walk in elsewhere. I walk other places. I walk whatever by myself, and, you know, it's not likely that anything will happen, but I just don't want to go by a whole group of particularly, you know, young men. I don't want to go by a whole group of young men when they're out and doing whatever, and I'm sure they're harmless, you know. I just don't like to do it. So I try to avoid doing it if it's at all possible. You know, if I'm able to avoid the situation, I tend to try to avoid the situation. That's what I do. Sometimes it's not possible, but you know. But this poor old lady, she was looking out her window to see what was going on. Just like I've looked out my windows. We've all looked out our window. If you hear ambulances or you hear things going on. She did it. She looked out her window and he shot into her window where he saw her look out. Unfortunately, even with all the commotion, he saw her look out her window, just opening her, thinking she's safe inside her house, just like we've all done. Okay, you look out and see what's happening, thinking you're safe inside your house. He shot her shot three bullets into that window and killed her. Messed up, huh? Tell me that's not messed up. Again, innocent bystander who had the misfortune to be curious, to want to see what was going on outside, who never expected, obviously, that she'd be shot at. She thought she could just see what was happening outside. Again, we've all done it. I know I've done it, even around here. I've looked out to see if there's, you know, I'm sure when all the ambulances and police have come to this house too many times, people have looked out their windows to see what was happening. I'm sure the woman across the street has, okay? Well, I've looked out the window before when things are going on, you know. It's not anything bad that's been going on. Remember, everybody under the sun comes if the 911's called. You know, it's not just a couple guys show up, paramedics, it's police and ambulances and everything else. Particularly if it's my aunt, which I found out later, will say, she'll say anything to get them here, okay? So if she says my mom is doing whatever, is a danger, you know, everyone under the sun shows up here. That's how my mom in Auntie's downstairs apartment about a year ago or so got interrogated by 7 cops. My mom said for a long time, for like an hour. In the end, they didn't take her in, but she was interrogated by 7 cops in that small downstairs apartment. And meanwhile, I had spent the whole day with my mom the day before, and I didn't see that anything was going on with her that warranted that, okay? But Auntie will say anything. She admitted it to me. She admitted it to me years ago when I was sitting here telling the police the truth, and Auntie was saying, you know, saying this, and I'm like, that's not true though. Why are you saying that? She's like, we have to say whatever to get your mom the help she needs, okay? And then another time I found out because I saw paperwork. That was when, I won't get into it, but my aunt will say anything. If my mom has a history and my aunt says my mom's a danger to herself or others or is hurting the animals, and meanwhile my aunt wasn't even living here, and that was when my mom had the nerve to want to take money out of her own bank account, which she could legally do, even with not being the power of attorney. My mom had the right to take that money out, but, you know. Anyway, I saw paperwork, and I still have it somewhere, and my aunt was the one who had called, and she definitely said that my mom was doing something my mom I've never done, okay? And again, they're going to listen to my aunt even though my aunt's not even living here. My mom is living alone. It doesn't matter. My mom has a history. My aunt's believed, and that's the way it goes, okay? So trust me on that one. Yeah, if you call for mental, everyone shows up. Everyone under the sun shows up, okay? Because they don't know if somebody who has that history of mental illness or whatever might be violent. So everyone shows up. And I can guarantee you that people have looked out their window to see what was happening. So this poor lady's dead because she looked out her window to see what all the commotion was about. And the guy, unfortunately, because you don't make noise looking out your window, unfortunately, for whatever reason, it was her time to go because he was looking when she looked out her window. He was looking up in that direction. Why? Who knows? Again, must be your time to go. And bang, 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 3 bullets. They originally thought it was just stray bullets that hit her. No, it was intentional. She was targeted for being curious. Which is very sad. Again, because we've all done it. It's very sad because it's just human instinct, you know. We've all done it. I know I've done it. When stuff's going on outside, you feel safe. You're not opening your door. You think I open my door when anything's going on outside? No. I don't want the police to see me if that I'm looking to see what's happening in my neighborhood. You push your curtain over. That's what this Vera woman who's now dead, this old lady did. She pushed her curtain over to look and see what was happening. And for whatever reason, the 20-year-old lunatic, the 20-year-old animal, just happened to look up when she was pulling that curtain over. This was after he'd already murdered the Sergeant Chesna, okay? And boom, boom, boom. The interesting thing is, I don't know if I think he might have done that when he might have done that when he's being chased by, I don't know if he was being chased by the other cop and what he was doing, but he took the time. He took the time to kill this innocent woman for no reason, just because she, unfortunately, was looking out her window. He took the time. Because nobody understood. He's like, they don't know each other. Why would he have killed her? Now we know. Because she was looking out her window. To see what was going on. And again, as we've all done. We've all done that. You feel safe if you're just, you know, hiding behind your curtain and just peeking out to see. I've done it plenty of times around here. The lady across the street is old, okay? There's been ambulances enough times around here, just not a shitload of police officers and all the crap that happens when when it's called because it's mental, because it's, you know, psychotic or whatever. Anyway. But that was a lie when I just said that. And the police officers will always say, and I'll be told, well, they won't take your mom away if they don't feel like, if they feel like she's okay or whatnot. Yeah, well, my mom's told, you know, you're here alone and you're scared of the police anyway, and they come like in the middle of the night. Because remember, it's when my aunt wasn't living here, when she called them that time, okay? That was the time that I helped my mom. You know, my mom was mad at man and whatever, and I helped my mom get money from her own bank account. But in any case, my aunt made up shit. My mom was fine, okay? But then I got a call from my mom. The police came and they took me away, and you know. Remember, in my aunt's world, if my mom defies my aunt, it's only my aunt is my mom's one Mother Teresa. So if my mom defies my aunt, it's because my mom is it derives from my mom's illness. Otherwise, because my aunt does no wrong ever. Remember that. Oh, I'm sorry. If my mom defies my aunt, it's because duress my mom's illness, or I'm behind it all. Because again, my aunt is Mother Teresa. She does no wrong ever. That's why I'm so grateful I finally have vindication. Because this last time around, we found out things by accident. We weren't trying to find out things, but we found out things by accident, my mom and I together, that just popped up, you know? And I got vindication. There were things that I had investigated, of course, and there were also things that just by accident. But I got vindication. I got solid proof, you know? I'm not talking hearsay anymore. I have solid evidence of what my aunt was up to and what my aunt did that disgusted me and, you know, and broke my mom, hurt my mother deeply. Understandably so. My aunt can't hurt me, though, because I hate her. She was able to hurt me during the pseudo-friendship because I was foolish. Never again. Told you, I trust nobody on this entire planet except for Joe. I love my mom, but I don't, but my mom's illness or my mom's whatever, she has a proclivity where she will fudge the truth and lie and whatever, and that drives me nuts when it's something important. When it doesn't fall into the category of little white lie, you know? And when I've begged her to tell me the truth, so. That's why I say Joe's the only one in this universe I trust. That still doesn't mean I believe he's right about everything. It means I trust him in just implicitly, just the type of person that he is. He is right when he tells me, you know, that he studies a lot, he knows a lot more, and he studies a lot more and whatnot. I know, Joe. This is also fucking confusing, this politics bullshit, though. It's hard to know what to believe and what not to believe, and like I said, I don't get into that on my channel, and I never will. I'll just say that Joe makes some good points, and leave it at that. And since I don't study it on my own, as Joe will constantly point out to me, I can't say how much of what Joe and others, you know, like him, believe, how much is the truth and how much is half true or whatever. That's why I stick to, you know, the things that really upset me. For example, those cops using online coin toss to determine this young woman's fate, you know. Those cops should lose their fucking jobs, period. They've had to turn over their badge and guns pending an investigation. The investigation, they should lose their jobs. Will they? I don't know. You can say, oh, it was a mistake, yeah. I don't know. I just don't have forgiveness for that, I guess, because there's just no excuse for it. We are not your amusement. Civilians, we're not your amusement, cops. Just, you know, just because you're in the position of power. A coin toss. The woman was, she's young, she was crying in the video too, but she's going 80 miles an hour, so she's going speeding, way above the speed limit, and it's storming, like, and she's reckless endangerment, and she shouldn't have been doing it, so she deserves to be arrested. And then they are in the cars laughing and saying, oh, what should we do with her? Should we take her in? Should we just give her a ticket? Oh, let's decide by a coin toss. Heads, we take her in, and you know what I mean? And then they didn't even go by it anyway. It came up that fate decided she shouldn't be taken to the station. They take her to the station anyway, which is even worse. They didn't even abide by their own bullshit. But that's what I mean by every time you turn around. You know, who expects that? Who expects to hear that the cops, okay, are going to decide somebody's fate by a fucking coin toss? I mean, fuck that shit. You know? Anyone can make mistakes, break the law, whatever. It doesn't mean we're here for your amusement. They were laughing and giggling in their offices. They were laughing in the video in their offices of the law. That is immature, and it's just ridiculous, and now they'll probably be sorry after the fact. Oh, and by the way, remember I said on Inside Edition it didn't say whether or not that coupon for the incontinence pads or whatever was legitimate. It was legitimate. He deserved to be fired, okay? He gets fired as a civilian. He can't just say, oh, I made a mistake, I won't do it again. Those cops shouldn't be able to say, oh, I made a mistake, I won't do it again. Alright? Calling the police on this woman because he thinks her coupon doesn't look legitimate. Like she said, he didn't even try to scan the stupid coupon. He called the fucking cops. What a motherfucking asshole. What a motherfucking asshole. And no, yeah, that was racially motivated. I don't think he would have done that to a white woman. But the fact is, if you don't think somebody's goddamn stupid coupon for a few bucks or whatever is legitimate, and you don't even bother scanning it, you're going to call the cops? Oh my God. If he went and apologized and I was that woman, I wouldn't even accept her apology. The one who called, you know, the one who called on the little girl, she says that she did not call the cops. She called the building or whatever. And she says the girl was being really loud outside the building. I mean, she didn't call the cops. But that being said, she's getting death threats over that. That's ridiculous too. It goes both ways, you know. I think the woman, I think they said she tried to apologize, but she won't accept her apology and whatever. The guy at CVS is just a fucking moron, right? I can't accept this. And she's like, why not? Because it looks fraudulent to me. And then she probably did what any of us would do, what I would do. It's not fraudulent, and what, you know. And then he goes and calls the cops, comes back and says, I just called the cops, so you better leave. And of course, the cops don't get involved in that. They come, just like with the Starbucks thing, and just say you need to leave. It's humiliating. It's ridiculous. And in the end, I got my answer. The manufacturer said the goddamn coupon was legitimate. You motherfucker. You know? Oh. See, it's black and white shit like this that I can get really upset about. All the political shit, I don't know what the truth is anymore, okay? I've got what I watch on mainstream news. Joe says that's all bullshit and whatever, you know? I don't 100% believe everything Joe says or believes or whatnot. But nor do I even remotely 100%. I see right through people like Jimmy Kimmel, okay? I see right through people like Jimmy Kimmel. Let's just leave it at that. I see right through people like Jimmy Kimmel. I don't have to believe Trump is a saint to not believe every fucking bullshit thing that's said about him, okay? But things like that coin toss, there's no excuse those officers can give. None. None. There is no excuse in the universe those officers can give. Just like the CVS asshole manager. No excuse for what he did. None. 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 And he got fired over it, you know? He deserved to be fired over it. But I think those cops that did the coin toss deserve to be fired as well, and I don't know if that's going to happen because the different rules apply to cops. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's my little rant. inside a dish. And